Welcome back to the hottest marriage show in our neighborhood. It's I, John D. and
Kanika,
aka
Do
In Too Much Podcast, rescripting the culture one conversation at a time. Good morning, my love.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for asking. What's on your mind this morning?
I guess what's on my mind this morning. So our one of our kids is away at a camp. They've been away for 2 weeks of a 3-week stay. The first week was rough, and it's interesting to. So essentially, they're experiencing that homesickness that freshmen get when they leave and go to college, but it's a lot more prematurely than most people would have to deal with.
Yeah.
So I've fought back all of my desires to baby the baby of the house while he's out doing the most grown up of the three right now, of just being completely ripped. Why I said ripped? That makes it so separated from his family for the first time by himself. And so we let the first week go. It was not a good week, and he was definitely saying, this isn't what I want to do. And it's not a cheap experience, but it's not something that will break a bank. But it's enough for him to think about, we're spending money to figure out what is and what isn't
his interest.
Yeah. And so he's away. And in the first week, he was like, this isn't it. This isn't what I want. And I remember the first message he sent me, he said, you guys spent X amount of money to find out that I don't even like this. And I was like, but that was the point. I think that he was afraid that we had wasted money sending him to this place, because this was an interest that he'd always said he'd had. When he was younger, he used to love to build and do all kinds of things. And so we were like, this might really be it. And we did a free one last year. And this year we're like, okay, we're going to invest some money into something more. What is the word I want? Extensive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, extensive in teaching him skills and what have you. And in week one, my boy was like, y'all wasted y'all money. So yesterday we had a conversation with him, right? It was after week 2. He only has 1 week left. So we're past the ugly part. He told us he did not like us at the moment because we left him there after 1 week of just knowing he didn't want it. But when he got in the car yesterday, we went to go have dinner with him. It was really the moment in which I promise I had even said to myself, if I went to go see him on my own just to check in on him, he'd probably fuss about, I'm not getting out of this car, take me home. Mm-hmm. And I would have struggled. But if John is there, that's not the case. And this is one of these things that, and how you balance me as a parent, and also shows your importance as a father to a son, because you create a whole different energy that he feels like he has to be more not responsible, but he has to buck up a lot more and just take things and figure it out. Whereas I be coming with my cape on. And so he gets in the car and the immediate conversation is negative, and it turns. I don't know what you said to him, but the conversation turned and it started seeming more positive. And so I guess I was excited to see him yesterday, but I dreaded it because I was like, it's just going to be negative the whole time. Right? What were you looking for when we went?
Well, I'll tell you, when he got in the car, I got up and gave him a hug, and it was like new to one, remember?
Yeah.
And then when he got in the car, the way that he was talking, I was on fire.
Were you? I was sad. You were on fire. The difference.
I hate this and I hate that. And
yeah,
I was just like, oh my God. And I was just like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I can't let him see my face. And I looked up in the rear view and I'm like, he's not looking at me. I'm like this. As you continue to ask questions, like, I was happy that you were, because I was like, it's keeping him engaged, and I think, I don't really know if it was me who changed it. I think that you just kept asking them questions like it wasn't going to go away. Mm-hmm. And then I think when we said that it's the experience outside of the direct reason why anybody's going to this, is what's the most important. Mm-hmm. Like, it's what you get out of it. And I think that him understanding that this is like pre-college, like you're going to leave at some point. You might as well cry now. And you know what I'm saying? Figure out what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was. It was the stretch of being uncomfortable out of his safety zone at home, because when he's at home, he doesn't have to worry about anything. But when he's out and about, he's like this. It's like his cover is gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that he needed to know, like, everything was okay. Like, you know, this is the part of it. Once you can feel this, then you can go about your own. Cause I think, like after dinner, he started to talk about the things that he could find himself being interested in. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, as we continue to like brainstorm, I think that gave him confidence. Like, okay, he heard or felt our temperature. Like, we were not bothered by
his discomfort.
Yeah. Or not just that, but we're not bothered that he's not going toward that field.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay for him to change his mind. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, this was like just one of those things, like being in the position that we're in, we're happy to even be able to present an opportunity like him, because how many families are able to send their kids to a camp like that? And we wanted him to get the entire experience. So I think this last week, it'll be a lot more fulfilling. But before the last week, let's go back. He said he played soccer for a full week.
Yeah. That was wild. So this is the thing. And that was another thing about the experience that we were looking forward to. We were looking forward to, he doesn't, even if we said it before, I don't think that he really believed us when we said you're going for a lot of experiences. Like, not just the skill set you're talking about or the career interest you're talking about. It's meeting kids from everywhere. Like, he was saying, this is the program. He was like, you know, it's not like it's majority people in Michigan because the program's in Michigan. It's like it's people from China, Canada, Spanish-speaking countries. I forget what he, listed, but he was like, it was people from everywhere. So it's the exposure to kids. My thing is, if you are exposed to kids who kind of like the stuff that you like, that gets one of those interests out of the way, and then you can like enjoy other things. But not only that, it's the college experience. You get the experience of being a freshman and being away from home and that rough part. You get the experience of meeting a lot of different people and being able to find your people. Because I think that that's really what happens at college. And then, the enjoyment of so out of all of the experiences, even with him learning the skill set or exploring the career, when he figured out he didn't want it, we were like, hey, that checks something off, it crosses something off our list. So we're getting closer to what we want.
Absolutely.
And so, or what you want, what I'm saying? It's better than saying this is what I want and then just going in that direction. And then you end up, like I was telling him, I was in a program and I just knew I wanted to be a microbiologist. I was a dual major, microbiology, medical technology. I'm in this research program. They paired me up with this microbiologist and I was like, get me out of here. Like, I don't want any of this. And I had to spend 6 weeks with this mentor. And I had begged in the first week. I said, I found somebody else. Please pair me with this other person. I would rather do this research. And they're like, no, we already set this up with this professor. She's excited about working with you all summer. She has a lot of information to give to somebody. You're going to do it. And I was mad about that, Tay. But she was like, you going to do it. And I went through the whole 6 weeks. And even though I knew I didn't ever want to do that again, I knew something. And that was good for me.
For sure.
And so he was sitting in the back and I'm explaining this after he gave us all of his I don't likes. And he was quiet for a second. And then we started asking more questions. eventually the conversation became more positive. But I think one of the biggest things is just saying it's still a success.
Yeah, for sure. I don't want to get too far and lose my thought. I wanted to ask you, how difficult was it for you to not continue to try to cover him last week?
Oh, shoot. Yeah. I felt so inadequate as a mother because one, it's just like, and I was trying so hard to be super mom, and I was just feeling horrible because one, and it's the weirdest thing. So we had a torrential downpour in Michigan last week, and he sent me a picture soaking wet, and he was like, I need an umbrella, like fast. And I'm like trying to find somebody who could deliver something to him in the next couple of hours while he's in class. And it gets to him. He's like, this bed is so uncomfortable. And he's been having trouble with his sleep. And I was trying so hard to figure out what was going on with his sleep so that he would have better sleep. And it's a college mattress, you know what I mean? And it was like, it took everything within me to not just say, okay, well, let me go down here and just go to the store and start buying some stuff and make him more comfortable. But I knew this is where the check came in. I wasn't taking that car nowhere, and you wasn't going to know where it was going. And then you were going to be like, don't you dare go down there and get him anything. He has to figure it out. And it got to a point where my not wanting to have the conversation with you, because I know that you're going to be like, you're not doing that. Because you don't need to do that. You need to do this. You need to let him do. It was so difficult to not be his entire covering. It hurt me so bad. And he would send ratings for the day with emoji faces. And the emoji faces were getting worse and worse every day. And he sent me a message about like when he really was like, this isn't it. He was like, the way he described it, it made me want to get in the car. But I could not, because number one, I know I'm not supposed to. I know it's something that he has to be able to do. I don't know if 15 is if he's supposed to be able to do it, but he was there. He said he wanted to do this. And I told him, we finish what we start. Just like last year, we battled through it. We finished what we start. And last year, he did a similar experience. It was only 1 week, but I was with him. And this time I'm like, it's okay. He's going to be okay. And John was like, it's homesickness. It's fine. You're all right. So the only real thing that it was really, really hard for me. And trust me, if you were not here, I would have been there. I would have at least been there and been like, let me just go take you out to lunch to kind of just like hear you talk and da 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 da. And that mug would have been like, I ain't getting out this car. I mean, he might not have said that. However, that was where my check came in, because I wasn't going to be able to explain away hours away out of nowhere. And you'd be like, where are you going? What are you doing? So it was difficult.
Do you see the benefits of letting him?
I absolutely do. I do. I think that I wouldn't have seen it. It's not that I don't feel like our kids are capable. It's that I don't like them being uncomfortable if I can fix it. And that's my problem. As a mother, there's a nurturing part, but there's also a part where even the mother birds push the baby birds out the nest. And I struggle with even a little bit of that, because I feel like adolescence is such a short period of time in your life in comparison to adulthood that I want them to be as carefree as possible for as long as possible. I don't want them to feel those stressors, but that's not helping them, because they need baby stressors to build them up for adult stressors, right?
Yeah, why do you feel like they need to be carefree as possible?
Because I feel like there's so much that weighs on you as you come into your adulthood. There's so many, like the level of sorting out everything that's going on. Life is complex, and the time in your adolescence is so limited. It's so small in the grand scheme of what your life could be if you live to your 70s. I guess I just want them to have the time where they feel like they didn't have stress and they enjoyed it. I know that when I grew up, when I think about the things me and my friends dealt with in our relationships and even trying to sort out our feelings with our parents and stuff, talking to each other, we were really stressed out. And I was like, golly, like the things some of my friends went through, some of the things I went through. And it's like, I don't want any of that, because you got a whole life full of all of that. So I guess
you don't think some of your childhood experiences help you, like the little baby stressors there?
They did. I guess the stressors that I think about, it just seems like it was just, I was still a kid.
But your stressors, I think, are you comparing it to, like, his is just like things that he's going to have to go through as far as. And
that's my trauma. I'm sorry for cutting you.
No, you're right. Like, I just was wondering if you were considering, like, even if it is your trauma, like, this can't kill him.
Right.
And you were having stressors because you were probably exposed to a little too much too soon.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. My trauma has developed this fear that I am like always trying to make sure that they have the least amount of adversity as possible, the least amount of stress, the least amount of adult decisions to have to make, because it wasn't like I didn't need to make those decisions when I was younger. I knew when I saw stuff that I was probably not supposed to be involved with it, but I did it anyway. And I love that they're not caught up in a lot of adult like activities. Like, they're not distracted by a lot of the things we were. So that's great. But my fear, and that's my problem, I placed the experiences I had and the fear that I developed on saving my kids from it, where I'm just like, I close in their circle as much as possible. Yeah. And this stressor isn't even a bad stressor. Like, being away from home for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that ain't even. Unless
he's like getting bullied or like something that makes him feel unsafe. But outside of that, it's just the experience of being detached.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I did check when he texted me. I said, is this something that I need to speak to an adult in the program about in regards to you and another adult, or you and another student? Mm-hmm. And he was like, no. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah, you all right then. Yeah. So that was the only thing about it.
And I do believe that is probably the question that put me at bay. Like, I was just like, oh, you tripping.
Yeah.
Like, if his safety is good, he just need to go through
He's just uncomfortable.
That was a great question to ask, though.
Yeah. And I think that's how parents, we take our fears and we place them on. It creates these barriers that it doesn't even have to, because these kids they're different. They're different than, at least our children are different than who we were growing up. And the challenges that are placed for them are good challenges. And and that's why I felt okay. I felt like I was holding myself like, Kanika, don't do it. It'd be different if I felt like there was a struggle, like people were mistreating him or whatever. Then I'd have been up on that road and John wouldn't have been able to hold me back. But the challenges aren't danger. But I see, like, when I look back at some of the things, my mom didn't even have any idea. The way I presented things, she was like, oh, she's good. The way I thought, my process, that she was like, she can manage it. There was never, my friends were like, we were good students. We stayed out of trouble. But the things I found myself in, if my mom would have known, she would have been snatching me up off the streets, like, immediately. And the decision, because she wouldn't have wanted me to make those decisions.
I think any mother, for the most part, yeah.
She wouldn't have wanted me to make any of those decisions. And so for me now, I'm like, I know who I was. So let me prevent that from my kids and parent them according to how I would. I don't even have to do that.
Yeah.
These kids are different. I love that, though. But my fears and my overprotectiveness could cost my kids a lot of really good lessons. And I don't want that. But I'm glad that you're here, because you tend to stop all of that.
Well, I think I stop certain things, but you give them things that I wouldn't give them to like the nurturing they need, because like I didn't have any of it. So I'm like, I'm straight, but you know, like I could have been better. So I think that the complementary aspects of both of us give them the best chance of transitioning into the real world.
And you know what? That brings me to a thought somebody was saying. They said you don't want your partner to be in agreement with you. You want them to be in alignment with you. So we're not going to, if we have a problem, you and I are not going to both do the same thing to solve it. We're going to align our skills in order to solve it. We have the same vision of what we want, our end goal. And so we're going to use what we have. We're aligned. And a lot of the times, like, I don't agree with how you deal with something. You don't agree on how I deal with something. But when we're dealing with it at the same time, it gives us the result we want.
I think because we can ask each other enough questions to be like, okay, what is the result we're looking for if we do this? And I think we can typically get to what we want, like where we like, okay, because if you don't have the other perspective, you can't find a way to get it better because you already think this is probably the right way.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think that's probably the takeaways I got from this week were there was a woman who said that her son said he was angry with her because she spent all her time trying to protect him from stuff, and now he's a man and he can't think his way out of a bag, basically, because she did it all. So now when he's facing real challenges as a man, he can't even do anything. Like, he doesn't even know how to think himself through it. And
that's a tough position for a mother to find that out.
But all we want to do is protect.
Oh, I know. I get it.
But she was saying she stood alone, parenting.
But there was no man. Oh yeah, there was no man.
Yeah. And so it really, like, I definitely am happy that you and I are aligned in how we move, but we're not in agreement, because sometimes our kids need both sides.
Absolutely.
They need to see it both ways. Like, I think he needed the nurturing, but I think he also needed the presence of saying, you're going to push through this anyway. I mean, it's necessary. So glad you're around, player, because I was about to be on the road picking up a kid.
Well, I'm glad you felt like we made the right decision by doing what we did.
Yeah.
I do want you to know, I sent him a message this morning, also let him know that I was proud of him, and, letting him know, like, this transition of being detached from your family is a major step for any kid, like, thinking about leaving, because at the end of the day, I don't want you to think that you failed because you came back home or whatnot, but I want you to be prepared. So you going through this experience it can only benefit you.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that I hope he takes from that is it was just that it can never, an experience cannot be a waste of money if you came out with something, like, whether it's to say, I do want to do it or I don't.
Yeah.
Whether it's to say, I did like this part, or I met this person, or this was cool. To me, I don't know how an experience can't be a waste in this instance. We're investing in his exploration. It's not in solidifying him in one spot.
For sure.
And so, and I think about that with a lot of experiences, those who are not detrimental or hurtful to anybody. Even if it doesn't give you what you want, if it gave you something, then it was worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anybody you want to give a shout out before we get out of here?
I'll give a shout out to the son and to all of the kids who traveled, like, from all over the world to all come together. Like, I commend them. I didn't have that in me as a kid to leave my country. So, all these kids that are seeking out what to do next, y'all ahead of my game. I wasn't on that. So shout out to y'all.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to say, I want to shout out to the son also, because he did say that he noticed that a lot of those kids were not taking the program seriously. And he was like, this is cost too much for them to not be taking it seriously. He was like, the kid that came all the way from China, it was like, it's just a waste of money the way that he's in here. And I'm like, you just do what you need to do. It's great that he has this, because he doesn't like it, that he's not taking it seriously. So that's pretty dope. So shout out to him and his understanding of, I have to do it anyway because I asked for this.
And making the most of an investment and experience. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Y'all make today better than yesterday. Don't worry about anything you can't control. GATA, get after that action, or that action will get after you. Be great on purpose.